We are live. Welcome, folks, to the latest installment of the Coaches Connect call. I'm Coach Jeremy, and we have a handful of coaches here ready to discuss, to share some insight. And first, we're going to tackle the question put forth by Christina, who is new to our call today and newer to coaching. So, Christina, from what you were sharing previously, it sounds like you finished your certification a little while ago, and you're looking to take those first few steps in terms of developing your coaching business. And I think the key things that you pointed out in terms of where you could use some guidance is where to find clients, where to advertise your coaching business or how to market and share your coaching business, as well as software recommendations, which are all things that we discuss regularly in this call, as well as there are many, many threads that I'd encourage you to check out in the PN Coaches community on Facebook. If you use any of the keywords of getting started, apps, social media, website, all of those things will generate a whole bunch of discussions that I think would be quite useful. But we can do a little bit of a discussion here as well. So it sounds like the first part of this multi-part question is essentially kind of where do I find my people? Does that sound about right?
Yes, exactly. Just like once I'm done, I get my certification, then it's like, where do I find a client?
Cool. Let's start with that as our first topic of discussion for today. Coaches who are able to either pop on video or pop on mic, where have you been successful in starting to connect with people? I, of course, have some thoughts on this, but I want to open it up to the people here who have been doing this for a little while and maybe are a few steps ahead of Christina, and they can share some of their insight.
So I would ask Christina, where does she want to coach online, offline, or is it like a mix of both?
Definitely a mix of both. One thing I started making was like little business cards to hand out to people, but then I also get stuck on like, where do I hand these out? Like, who do I give these to? Like, so it's both online. I have a bigger presence on like Instagram. I'm trying to grow my TikTok feed, trying to do YouTube. So it's like kind of different avenues, but I get not a lot of like I get a lot of like likes on it, but I don't get a client out of it. So it's like I'll get like one or two people who ask me about coaching, but it's not like that consistency.
Thank you. So if I can share some of my mistakes that I've made and some of the things that made big sense to me and what I've been working on. So when it comes to offline, even if you want to coach people online, you can meet them offline, right? So you don't need to play the TikTok and Instagram game and so on. So this is something that a lot of coaches like put themselves into that bracket. I'm coaching online, so I need to get clients online. There is a lot of competition there, right? So if you are just starting, what I found to be insightful for me was the people who buy from you don't need to be like your friends or family, but people who trust you. So it's about building trust. And maybe it's your friends and family who can recommend someone else. And this is like easiest way, right? And that I found for myself that I got clients easily offline when I put myself just out there, not like handing cards, but maybe meeting people in the gym and so on. And just, you meet people there again and again. You just ask them, you mention that you are a coach or whatever, and you offer them coaching sessions. So basically, you want to be getting these interactions going. And there is a kind of funny story I want to share that when I started as a salesperson, and my boss told me like he gave me visit cards, but he printed 100 for me, and he told me like this is for all your life, right? It's 100. So you should not be just handing them out. If you hand it out, it should be a sale. So I found this like a very good mindset to have. So it's like inviting people to a date. You don't just go around and invite anyone and everyone, right? So it's just I need to have a kind of conversation with them, build some rapport or something like that. And then it's like, okay, here is my visit card, whatever. Let's get in touch, or even better, get their contact details. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. Thank you. That does make sense.
And
Yeah, so
when it comes,
continue, Daniel.
And when it comes to online, that comes from Jonathan Goodman, and he mentioned like a lot of coaches play this influencer game online. So there is a difference if you are a coach who shares information or runs a business or has a business online, is different than influencer who is sharing content and getting paid for views and getting paid for advertisement and so on. So you don't get into that trap of playing likes and views game and so on. So that's a wrong metric to optimize for.
Very well said. I'll add a couple of points here to just summarize some things that Daniel said there that really stood out to me. One, in kind of not getting caught in that idea that if I want to be an online coach, the only avenues I have to pursue are online methods. So social media, websites, email lists, all of those things can be useful, but they are not the only way that we get online clients. I will say the most successful referral method for me for clients is typically medical professionals who I have relationships with, either because I have worked with them as my clients previously, or I have gone to them for some sort of treatment, and then we had a conversation, shared what I do, and they're like, "Oh, I might have some people who I think who would benefit from your skill set." So those people then referred back to me. I work with them online. I very rarely meet clients in person. I'm actually going to meet a client who I've been working with for the last 3 months in person for the first time tomorrow, if our schedules can line up. They just happen to be in the city. But yeah, you can certainly be an online coach and have your method of referral be from relationships that you've met within your community. I think that's actually a really strong way to play. And the thing that Daniel said there that resonates with me the most is the people who you are likely to work with may be family and friends, but are also very likely to know your family and friends. And the way that I often say this is the people who you are most likely to serve initially as a coach probably already know and like you, or they know and like someone who knows and likes you. So leveraging those either first or second degree connections is incredibly useful when you're starting. These are people who you already have some form of connection with. They likely already know what's going on in your life, and they have a degree of trust in you, which is useful for starting that relationship. People talk about coaching friends and family all the time and how it's a terrible idea and how it never works out. Initially, when you're coaching, your goal is to get more coaching reps. Just like the messages I shared on our Coaches Connect page today for folks to show up, you're getting coaching reps. Whether those are paid reps or unpaid reps, that is a decision that you get to make. But the things that you then learn from those relationships will feed into the next steps that you take in terms of how you collect payments, how you manage and track information, how you manage and track communication with your clients. All of those things kind of come after you started to get in some coaching reps. Putting in some thought now and learning from this community can help you make better choices as you move into those stages. But if we're focused squarely on the conversation of how do I get people to engage in coaching with me, leverage the relationships that you have right now, is likely an easier way than to show up in an online space as someone who has zero coaching experience. And from what I'm understanding, actually, I'm making an assumption here. At this point, Christina, you haven't coached a client yet. Is that correct?
I only coached about maybe like 3 or 4 people.
Okay, so you do have some coaching experience. Fantastic.
Yes, 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 yes.
Uh,
Created guides and ebooks and guided people through monthly like nutrition coaching before, but it's very like
awesome.
I came up with it like on a whim type of thing. So I'm like trying to figure out like, is there a place where you guys even create like meal plans and um
Mhm.
like put things together? Like, is there a specific app that like helps people like basically from scratch?
I mean, so we'll talk about software in a second. In terms of uh, your secondary question of kind of like showing up in an online space, uh, what is your strategy right now? Like, what are you highlighting in your Instagram, your TikTok, your YouTube space?
Well, I talk a lot about just healthier swaps on food a lot. And then I
Mhm.
also, a lot of people, like, I don't know, everyone has mixed thoughts on this, but I've been eating like more carnivore lifestyle for the last 3 years. So I share a lot of
Sure.
eating more meat, eggs, and fat and how that's helped me. So I'm kind of sharing my carnivore journey. So my focus,
Mhm.
like niche is truly basically anybody who wants to start carnivore, how to get started, creating ebooks for them, how to get started, like, detoxing, things like that. But obviously I'm open to helping everybody in any, nutrition, whether it's a vegan or a pescatarian, doesn't matter. My focus is
Mhm.
more on carnivore because that's what I do. So that's what I share a lot, like eating meat, benefits of meat, and then healthier food swaps, things like that.
Gotcha. So this leads nicely into kind of the next area that I think is helpful to focus on when you're growing your online presence. It should be demonstrating what it's like to work with you, not necessarily what it's like to be you. Unless you have like a huge following and you're trying to, your people are, or people are always asking you, hey, how do I do more of what you do? Then maybe sharing yourself as an example can be useful initially, but ideally, people want to see what does it look like and what does it feel like to work and have a relationship with you. So the good news is you already have some people that you've coached. I would encourage you to lean more into what are the conversations you're having with them? What are the problems that they are bringing to you? How are you helping them solve those problems and demonstrating those things in your online messaging? Having posts about yourself and the things that you do can be useful. They're often great filler content. Uh, we talk a little bit more about this stuff in our coaching business Kickstarter course. These are things that kind of like fill the top of the funnel, get people's attention on you, but they don't help to really to strengthen connection to you. When people can see themselves in the people that you help, that is what helps to strengthen the connection to you.
Got
We
it. Yep.
want people to essentially say, hey, oh, that person that Christina's working with, that actually sounds a lot like the problems that I have. Would
Yeah.
I,
Yep.
can I see how she's helping them solve that problem and is providing an attractive solution? If so, then maybe I can also be that person that she works with and I can utilize the solution as well. When we're in the coaching space, like sitting in the coaching seat, people assume that the things that we do come quite naturally to us and they're easier for us. And then there's a regular divide that goes, of course you do those things. You're a coach, you're a health nut. Like it makes sense that you would do all of these above and beyond things. And it looks great on social media. It gets a lot of likes, it gets engagement, but it doesn't help people cross the divide to say, oh, I can do that stuff too. If anything, it kind of feels like a barrier because it's now super healthy fit person does that. I don't see myself as super healthy fit person. I would aspire to do that, but in the same direction as I would aspire to drive a Ferrari. There are nice things, but there are things that are not reasonable to me.
Right. Yeah, I understand because a lot of my posts are along with that. I share a lot of like my transformation. So it's like, oh, I went through pregnancy and my biggest thing is recovering from overtraining, restriction,
Mhm.
and also very bad bloating all constantly. I was trying to
Mhm.
eat balanced meals, everything that I did. So I'm also sharing like my story on like, oh, if you also struggle with bloating and being constantly uncomfortable, this is what helped me. So, but I get it. Like
Right.
already looking at me as a fit person. So like, okay, well, you were always, you always look this way. So that's nice. So I understand what you're saying, like sharing other people's transformations that I've helped, being like, listen, this person struggled with, this or whatever, and it more relates to them. So they're not only looking at me.
Mhm. Exactly. Think of your social media presence as It's a highlight reel, but as much as you can highlight the stories of the people that you've helped, that is far more appealing to your audience as opposed to a highlight reel of yourself. Where you get to shine is how you've taken your knowledge and your education and your experience and then translated it to other people effectively. Uh, that is, I mean, a summarized version, a little bit of what we talk about in the Coaching Business Kickstarter course. And if folks here are newer to PN, you may have actually already been enrolled in that course as part of your level one offer. And I think our next live version uh, is coming up in late August or early September. So you can keep an eye out for emails regarding that, or you can sign up for that course if you're not enrolled. Tamara, you had your hand up for a really long time. I apologize.
Yeah, sorry. Now you hear me? Hi, Jeremy. Yeah, good. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I also want to comment, have a comment for Christina. So, to be honest, I think it's not relevant for me to make some advice about how to find clients because I started my career a long, long time ago, and basically like offline because I started in medical school. So I'm absolutely agree with you, Jeremy, that that was really, really like very point about doctors and about practitioners because I have many clients from like different GPs advice. For example, like, oh, I attended my GP and he said that you are a good psychologist because I started my career as a psychologist after a medical school. So yeah, I think even in that kind of world we live in, yeah, in social media and wherever, but I mean, like, frankly says, frankly speaking, it's really helpful to make real life context. I know that sometimes it's really like tricky to say like, oh, hey, just tell me I start my career and tell your friends and all this stuff, but it really works. And sometimes it's even better, even like an Instagram, because according to your question about likes and engagement, so sometimes the point is like engagement, especially nowadays in the algorithm in Instagram as well. It doesn't work like, for example, like 5 years ago. Yeah, because it doesn't mean if you have like, I don't know, like 10,000 followers that you got like 10,000 clients as well. Because it's good when you're, for example, blogger and work with, as Jeremy said, like a fitness influencer and you work with different brands. So yeah, it basically like because you earn your money from a collaboration with the brand, from advertisement and whatever. But when we're talking about yeah, client, it's really kind of different. It's about like a sincere trust and all the stuff. And also, it's really, I think that a good point, and I got from different people that I work with in marketing as well, that it's really helpful for clients when you say, for example, I work as a stylist. What I mean. So when you say for people like I work as a nutritionist in keto or in carnivore or wherever, so so they couldn't make a choice, like they think that you work in a very specific area. And when, for example, yeah, when you say like, oh yeah, I'm a nutritionist. Okay, so oh, that's good enough. So I can make because I can be a vegetarian, I can be like a carny, whatever. Yeah, I do, but I'm a nutritionist and I can help you with that. So I think it's a good one. Like, yeah, I'm a nutritionist, but I have a my personal experience and this, and this. But it's really good when you like help people to make the choice for themselves. And just because you made a certification literally, so now you're like a nutritionist and everything, yeah, especially like first of all in nutrition, though they can choose wherever they want. But when they feel like this basic things like I can help you with your eating patterns, or I can help you with I don't know, like create your own plate, yeah, or your meal. It's helpful because we don't have to like, like innovate some new bicycles. Everyone made it for us, to be honest, yeah. So yeah, I because I really feel you because nowadays, for example, I've got lots of clients from I mean post-Soviet countries because I started there. I'm from Eastern Europe, but I moved to Western, and like I don't know, maybe for 3 years ago. Yeah. So nowadays I'm also like working on a to make my English speaking clients as well. Yeah, that's why like somehow I'm in this point again when I start my new page, because I started my new also Instagram like for English speakers and as well. So yeah, I think that the basics it works for me. I don't know, yeah, but it's just my experience, and I really want to share, and I hope that this journey is gonna be great for you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you for
Jeremy.
sharing, Tamara. Yeah, no worries. Uh, in terms of the idea of kind of like the label that we assign ourselves, I'll add something additionally here. So, in terms of I'm a nutritionist, for the example you gave, like I'm a nutritionist for carnivore or keto clients, I'm a nutritionist for vegan clients, all of those things. You can certainly advertise on that kind of specific labeling and language. I would, if you are at the beginning of your coaching journey, and it sounds like Christina right now, you're kind of open to working with whoever, my suggestion would be more so to have that title as I'm a nutritionist who dot dot dot, and then insert the problem that you solve. Not so much the tool that you use to solve the problem. So, reason being, um, I'm a nutritionist who helps women feel more comfortable in their bodies. I'm a nutritionist who helps people who are experiencing bloating. You can use your carnivore experience, you can use your keto experience, you can use a vegetarian or a pescatarian or whatever type of dietary strategy that makes sense for the person without kind of walling it off to people who are only interested in certain dietary approaches. So if that is something you're kind of still solving for, use your professional title, then the problem that you're solving, as opposed to your professional title and then the dietary approach that you're using to solve the problem. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight there as well. In terms of the final question that you had there regarding what kind of platform do we use, I'll open it up to, well, actually, before I open it up, obligatory uh, boosterism for ProCoach. It is the software that PN uses for coaching primarily with one-on-one clients. It's, I think, incredibly useful if you do not have a coaching framework that you are ready to employ on day one. It has a very easy to follow coaching methodology. And if you've gone through our level one certification, the methodology that we share in our level one cert is what informed kind of the flow and the workflow for ProCoach. So you'll see the same six-step coaching approach from your L1 certification. It is made manifest in ProCoach. So you can actually follow it step for step. Where you might find it a little restrictive is if you're using very specific dietary approaches. It doesn't support one specific dietary approach. So you're not going to really find a lot of resources on ketogenic or carnivore diets in it. But that is, my vote is for ProCoach, unsurprisingly, probably. For folks here, I'm curious to know what you use with your clients or what you have used. Any advice that you have for Christina? Bernadette, anything you have?
I'm currently using Coach Builder Pro, but I mean it's okay. So I'm not gonna recommend it. And I've looked into ProCoach to probably switch to ProCoach one. My contract with Pro Builder Coach Builder Pro is done. So once that,
Gotcha.
I'm looking into other sources, but I mean it works fine. because it's, I mean, it's great for, you know, scheduling appointments and doing all of that. But because since I've been certified in PN, I like Coach Bill. I like Pro Coach because it's kind of in line with what I've learned, and I think it looks like it's a good resource. Coach Builder Pro is works for me now because I work on a program with my clients, and that works well. But I don't know if I'm going to continue with it. So
Cool. I mean, appreciate your feedback. I've not heard of that software. I'm sure there's dozens of them that I haven't heard of. But that is some useful feedback for young coach Christina here. Daniel, what do you use?
I'm minimalist
Fair.
because I use like Google Documents, and also with the coaches that I have worked, who don't have like 100 clients, who are not like big, maybe 10 or 20 clients. We always been using like Google Documents and just, you know, files like this.
Yeah, I mean, a low cost, easily available solution to this problem could certainly be things like you could use the entire Google suite to run your business, except for payment processing. You'll probably need something like a PayPal or Stripe. But to schedule appointments, Google has something in their calendars for that. To share information, Google Sheets or Google Docs can certainly help to capture information and share it. Messaging, you can use Google. Obviously, the email client would be useful there as well. So you can keep it incredibly low cost, and then of course, if you need to do video calling, Google Hangouts. Okay? You can solve all of those problems with a very low cost approach. Uh, it may not be optimized for coaching, but it certainly can be done. Uh, Tamara, are you using a specific software with your clients right now?
oh, can I add something? So Coach Builder Pro.
Oh, please.
Stripe is built into Coach Builder Pro, but I must say that before I used Coach Builder Pro, I did use PayPal for payments, and that worked well as well. So if you don't want to, you know, pay the extra cost, that PayPal works good for payments. So
Cool. Yeah, some softwares will come with a built-in scheduling and billing methods as well. For specifically for billing, you'll probably want to see like what is the payment processor fee, and you can compare them. Most of them tend to be quite close within each other, like a difference of 0.01, 0.02 here and there, which is typically not a huge, a, a large enough number that people are willing to make giant swaps. As a solo practitioner, I would typically use what is the software that has like the greatest adoption and that people are the most comfortable with. So if there's something within your community where it's like people typically use this already for payment transfers, then I would likely go with that one as opposed to shopping through a dozen to try and find a slightly smaller rate that is going to amount to a few dollars at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Christina, it looks like you got. Oh, sorry, Tamara, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I want to also add that I use Stripe for my clients, especially. It's really helpful for me. For example, when my clients outside of Europe, and they're in United States and Canada, it's easier for them to pay by link because I put them invoice and then they just pay by link to avoid all these problems with banks and transferring and whatever. For Meets, for sessions, sorry, I use Google Meets and Zoom. I think they're, like the best one because I'm not into Microsoft how Teams. Yeah, Teams calls, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, because sometimes I don't think it work good, for a while. And yeah, about like actually I haven't used pro coaching platform yet, but I'm into to try it because I think it's a really good one. And also I when I check all these materials for infographics and all this stuff. It's really helpful. It's really visible to share for clients as well. And yeah, and of course, first of all, I don't know about you guys, but for me, Canva is number one for, making content, for making invoices, like for everything. It's really, especially when you use Pro One. So I always use it, yeah, for everything.
Yeah, PN big canvas stands over here. So not something that I personally dabble with too often, but that should give you kind of a suite of tools that you can use, Christina, or that you can at least look into, going from kind of the least cost, lower end range where they're less specific to more specified coaching tools to help you organize your coaching. As I said again for Pro Coach, I think every coach should at least utilize the 30-day trial for it to see if it fits their needs. If nothing else, you'll come away with a strong framework of how to guide your coaching check-in calls, which is incredibly valuable when you're starting off, because keeping everything organized in your mind is quite challenging. Whereas if you can go from screen to screen to screen and just keep hitting that next button after you've answered all the questions, that is a repeatable system that after you've practiced a little while, you can take it to another software. It is in your textbook, you can replicate it from there as well. But if you want to see somewhere where it's already being built for you, the PN coach, that is where I would suggest starting. Christy, you have your hand up.
Sorry, I was trying to get to the unmute and video button. So I'm brand new
Okay.
here. I haven't started my course. I'm in this sleep stress management and recovery course. And I'm wondering if I can ask a question that pertains to a client, or actually a couple of different clients that are showing up for me, which is why I joined this particular course.
Go
Is that
for it.
what this group is for? Okay. So a little context, I help mainly women regrow hair after experiencing hair loss. And when I have women who come in who are having an excessive shedding experience, their anxiety is up, they're stressed out, they're losing their identity, they're scared. And once the hair is in that shedding phase, you can't put it back in the growing phase. It's there, it's gonna come out. And in order to get hair to grow, we need it to just come on out, right? And so that's very scary for them. And I'm wondering, I've had a lot of thoughts about this, like slowing down the process doesn't really serve them, but at the same time, their anxiety and their stress isn't serving them either. So any recommendations for coaching through this, or?
So it's an interesting question. So you're not as focused on kind of like hair loss, hair regain phase, like that stuff. It sounds like you have the information there. It's mostly how do we work with highly anxious, stressed out clients who are experiencing a very kind of traumatic event, and then how to continue to work with them.
Yeah. Which is typically, the hair loss is typically caused by the trauma and the stress, the anxiety.
And
then
it kind of is
to
this
me,
repetitive cycle.
They get some hope, but then we have to go through this process of them seeing that shedding continue until it's done. And yeah, I need a way to help them move through that. And I don't know how to do it.
So it sounds like from what you're sharing, part of the process that is expected is that before things get better, they are likely to get worse.
That is true for some people.
How do you have that conversation with folks nearing the beginning or the onset of your coaching experience with them?
So I'm just learning some coaching skills. I do think I've got, strong empathy and caring. I have personally been very nervous around conflict things. So that's something I'm moving through as well, but I'm just doing my best to be direct and set those expectations up and say, listen, this doesn't, we don't know how much hair you have in that shedding phase, but this is possible. And so I let them know, which also, gets their anxiety up. So I feel like
Right.
I'm walking this fine line.
Mhm. So I'll share something from my coaching practice that I implemented a little while ago. And it sounds initially counterintuitive, but it's been very useful.
Okay.
So a new client comes in, we haven't signed any documentation, there's no payment yet. We're just in that kind of consultation phase. So they've booked a consultation call, and the first part of the call is very much like very casual, just getting to know each other. We're talking about the weather, we're talking about pets, we're talking about babies, all of those things. As we're getting into the phase where I'm now allowing them to kind of like open up, share what the problem is in their experience. So they're telling me all of these things. And as I'm getting to a point where they're starting to ask, is there a solution that you can provide here? One of the things I pause and ask is, given kind of the experience that you're sharing with me, a common question is like, how long will it take? Like, how long do you expect me to like kind of work with you? What are the results? Like, what does this typically look like? One of the questions I ask is, here's all of the things I've kind of set out. Here are the skills that we're going to work on that I think would be valuable for you to work on. Here's how they would benefit you. And here's how they're related to the problem that we're solving. A lot of this is tied up in the central core of typically the people I'm working with are either seeking weight loss or muscle gain. If they are particularly weight loss people, especially with the history of yo-yo dieting, one of the things I ask them is, if we get 6 months into this journey and your weight hasn't significantly dropped, given all the other things that I said would be beneficial for you, like why you're learning these skills, what you get from these skills, how they would help improve and enhance the quality of your life. If your weight hasn't significantly changed, then would you have seen this as a waste of time? And for some people, they're like, I don't know. I mean, like that other stuff is good, but I would want to see some weight loss at that point. Some people will be like, I mean, those other things do sound valuable, and you're not saying that weight loss is impossible. Like I'm not saying it's not possible. What I'm saying is I'm trying to assess, would the other things enhance the quality of your life? And if you agree that they would, then I can be the right coach for you. But if this is purely just weight loss and you don't care about the other stuff, then this is going to be a lot more challenging for us, especially for my people who are like, I've yo-yo dieted my entire life. And I've tried every different dietary approach, and we can start to see it's like through this conversation, it's quite clear it's not the dietary approach. It is maybe not even a specific body weight. It's really tied to that kind of really central core. But we need to expose that early and be like, hey, it's going to be challenging. There will be bright spots along the way. But if that is the only thing that you're chasing, it's going to be really hard to work together. And I'm not going to shut the door on that to you, but I want you to be aware of that early. We're going to talk about other things, and it's not every day is going to be like, what did you weigh to start, and then what do you weigh now? We can't just keep having that conversation. It's not a useful coaching conversation. I would encourage you to have your own version of this with your folks as well. It's essentially what we're working on is expectation management and sharing with them, hey, things are not going to follow a very linear path. I can't predict that as a coach who helps people with body composition or with overall health goals. And I would assume that you can't predict that with people as well for the service that you're offering.
Sure.
There's going to be quite a bit
variables.
of unique, exactly. There's going to be a lot of unique variability here. So having a way to kind of seed the idea that things might get worse before they get better. Here are all the things that will also improve along the way. And then through those kind of more challenging periods, here's how I'm going to support you. And here is how I've supported other people with that as well. Does that sound like you'd be? Yeah.
It feels like it gives them a place to land. Yeah.
Exactly. Where we understand what the big scary thing is, you might never experience it. And that's the hope that I have for all my clients. But if we do get there, know that we have a plan because I've been there before personally myself or with other clients. So we're going to shine a light on it early so that it's not this monster that's hiding under the bed. We know that it is just an eventuality. It's a thing that could happen, and know that we have resources and tools and my guidance to help you get through that.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. That is very helpful.
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you can think on that a little bit. If you come back
Mhm.
for another call, you can update us on what that
Yes,
conversation can sound like for your clients, because I'd be very interested to hear what that sounds like.
that'd be great.
Never having coached someone through hair loss.
Mhm.
Mhm. Uh, I'm just looking over the chat box real quick. I see that there's quite in-depth conversation going on there back and forth. Daniel, thank you for jumping in. Uh, Jamie, I believe it was your conversation here. For instance, if you had to build a program for the people who say, I don't need a coach, what would you do differently? Uh, Jamie, are you able to unmute and let us know a little bit more of the background of that question?
I am, thank you. So I guess really what I'm looking at is, and I think Daniel hit on it here, is that usually in the action phase are when the individuals are going to look for coaching. But let's
Mhm.
say you have a healthy individual that's not looking for coaching at that time. Is there any way to tap into that or to uh, make your push a little stronger, even for those people who may just need a small change in a certain area, not necessarily a big overhaul, I guess.
Mhm. So it's an interesting question. And I mean, PN has like its own approaches to solving this problem because as a entity in this space as well, like we're also interested in that market. And from our research, like we have specific tools that are geared towards those folks to kind of bring them into our orbit. Uh, so if you've ever seen like any of our calculator tools, that is one of the ways that we've identified kind of that subgroup that you're talking about, the people who are like, I know what to do. I don't really need a coach. I just need some information. That is something that we've provided where it's like free cost, use the tool, you sign up, the thing that you trade is your email address, and then you get all of our information. So any of our blog posts that come out, any offers that we have, and essentially, what we're doing is just nurturing that lead. It's really hard to monetize that space unless you have a very like high profile tool with very low cost. Because essentially, as people have already said, like I do not see value in offering my time or resources to get coaching. So you have to give them something that's like, okay, you can use this and there's a cost to pay, but the cost is incredibly low. In this case, email address and free. Uh, I'm just going to continue to read through your chat box a little bit here because maybe it'll answer the question that I'm about to ask. Essentially, what is it that you then want to do with these folks once you've brought them in? Are you looking to charge them like a very nominal fee and have this as like as a recurring revenue source? What is your goal once they're like they've entered kind of your sphere?
That's a really great question. Um, I guess I haven't really gone to that fact yet. I guess I'm just looking at it from an aspect of customer retention and then keeping those people once I do have them. So kind of the
Mhm.
whole full on cycle of um, showing that there's a need for it and then keeping them once you have them.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So the approach that I shared with you is kind of our solution to it. So we have newsletters, we have email things that they can sign up for, we have the calculator. These are all ways to generate new market by getting people who are kind of interested in this stuff, but they haven't explicitly said, I want to work with a coach or I need some sort of coaching program, which is very similar to what I'm reading in the chat that you shared here. They want to feel better, they just don't resonate with traditional coaching. So that's what brings them into our sphere. What we've seen is typically people will, as long as we're offering regular, consistent value to these folks, they will continue to click. They'll continue to watch what we put out. They'll stay within that circle of like very low to no cost, but high value. So we try and offer as much value as possible. That means like writing regular blog posts, updating previous articles, having a social media team, having tools that we offer for free that, I mean, it's free to them, but it costs us to maintain and update those tools. What happens eventually, or our hope is that over time, we build trust and rapport with those people. And when it is time for them to purchase coaching, we're the first name on their list. And we see this time and time again where we ask people when they sign up for PN coaching, it's like, how did you get here? They're like, often on email lists, and it was like 2 to 3 years of being aware of us before they actually trusted us to pay for our services. That being said, I think one of the reasons why our time length can be multiple years, whereas a normal, we'll call this kind of like an individual coach or a solopreneur may be able to shorten that time length, is because by and large, PN operates as a logo and not a person. So you know our words, but you don't know our personal story. And I think we're trying to change that a little bit. So we have, if you look at our social posts over the last like 6 to 12 months, there's way more faces involved. There's less logo, less infographics. I mean, those things are still there and they, again, kind of feed the top of the funnel, but there's much more of a personal attempt to have conversations with people. And the way that we're doing that is largely Instagram Reels right now. But that being said, it is much harder to generate kind of an audience as opposed to speak directly to an audience who's already actively looking for the solution you provide. Jamie, if you solve this problem, please send us your resume. I think the CEO at PN would be very interested in having a conversation with you.
I'm all over it.
Yeah, I mean, nurturing that audience, typically for it to be, I think, financially beneficial, will require a really outsized amount of resources in terms of content that you could pump out. So if you solve for that part where it's like, I'm a content generating machine, I can create tools, I can create resources, I can create articles really easily. That's actually one of my strengths. Then you can start to attract a huge number of eyeballs and rely on lower conversion rates to grow your business. It's very possible. If you are trying to build a coaching business, leveraging more of your personal time and attention and nurturing individuals tends to have a much better conversion rate. But again, you're speaking to a far lower number. But if you feel like, hey, that's where I actually shine, when I'm talking to people one-on-one, I'm able to listen to them actively. I'm able to really empathize with their situation and the problems that they're having, and I can then provide an attractive solution to the individual. That is quite often, I think, a more useful strategy, and really kind of brings our conversation full circle for today about how to connect with people and how to gain those initial clients. Just scanning through the chat. Cool. We're almost up on time for today. This conversation went all over the place. None of it that I had planned for, but I think it's a really useful conversation. Christina, Christy, and Jamie, thank you for bringing up your questions. Any additional questions or comments before we sign off for today?
Jeremy, this is Jamie. I have just one last question.
Please.
So I'm new to the program. I think I'm going on to chapter 3 right now. However, I know that there's all kinds of templates that we can use during our coaching. How can are we able to use those in marketing from the PN perspective? Can we change any of them to meet maybe how our coaching is? What is the, I guess, kind of the copyright on all of the materials that are provided?
So here, let me grab you our terms and conditions. Essentially, so if you're asking for the forms that you use for coaching, like the ones found in your level 1 resources, there are certainly articles for those things specifically. And then we have some other resources. I believe if you go into like the social media secrets and newsletter success, there's a huge long title there. Everyone, when you sign up for PN, you're given that as a resource. There are some additional resources that we share for specifically social media use. You can download the folder, and then those resources and assets you can use in any way you want. You can chop them up, do whatever you want with them. Typically, our other resources, the ones from level 1, those forms, you can add your logo onto them, and you can use them in your practice. But I am actually unsure on if you can use them in your marketing efforts. If there was something where you're like, hey, here's a mock-up of what I want to use, feel free to capture that, send it to us at info@precisionnutrition.com, and then we can provide more appropriate guidance from there. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Let me just see if I can quickly find the terms and conditions. I don't have the link on hand here. This is very much a Suzanne Hiscox question. She'd be able to answer this with no problem. But if this question still feels unanswered to you, Jamie, I would encourage you to post it in the PN coaches community, and you can throw a mock-up in there, and Suzanne will be on it in no time. Or you can send the email directly to info@precisionnutrition.com, and our team will be able to provide more appropriate resources for you there. We'll close out here for today, folks. Again, thank you for your questions. Thank you for sharing your experience. And then we'll be back again next week. Cheers.